Welcome to the Snelling Forging the Future podcast. I'm Bennett Richardson from Snelling Staffing. Today we're talking with Lauren Webb, head of HR at IPC Foundry Group. We're diving into her journey, leadership insights, and how she's built successful teams. Lauren, how's it going today?
It's going good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking. Thanks for being here. Yeah, without further ado, Lauren, can you tell us about your company and what you do there?
Yeah, so IPC Foundry Group, we're a foundry. It's kind of like a forge. And when I started here, I did not know what investment casting was or what a foundry was. And so it's been really interesting to learn a lot about that. And so I'm the head of HR. So I cover HR over our Utah facility. And then I also cover a little oversight into other facilities that we have as well, at least regarding policies, procedures, and those high level types of things too.
How you ended up in HR and with IPC?
Yeah, so I'll start by saying HR is the last place I ever thought that I'd end up, but I was actually living up by Ogden, so northern Utah.
Mm,
And I was in school, and my husband had just finished a certification, and he actually got a job down here in Utah County. And so we decided to move down here. And the plan was for me to find a part time job and go back to school.
right.
And so I was looking on Indeed, as we all do, and applied to a few different jobs, and I ended up getting an interview for the job I have now. I thought it would be temporary, but I love the company, I love the people, and I love what I do. So it's not becoming a temporary thing. And so I like to
Yeah,
say it was kind of by accident or by luck, but
right.
overall I'm just glad to have landed here and I love what I do. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's all anybody could ask for. I know you mentioned that previous people who worked in this role had been there for a while. What was it like stepping into the shoes of someone who had been there for 30 years? I mean, you've had such like a quick rise into HR leadership.
Yeah, it was not easy. There was definitely challenges I had to work through. So the HR manager I had replaced in Utah was actually the sister of one of the founders. And so like she'd been working there for a long time and she just had the ball rolling in such a smooth fashion. And it was kind of intimidating for me to continue that smooth transition from her to me. I remember my first day on the job, we went around the shop passing out pay stubs, and she knew everyone's names, like how many kids they had, and I was very intimidated. And
Sure.
I felt like I had a high standard to live up to, and it was not easy, but I she trained me very well, and so I was able to smoothly take on all of the procedures that we have in place. And then I set a goal to learn everyone's names. And then after that, I started learning more about people, like how many kids they have, so that I can have that friendly connection with them as well. And so it was intimidating at first, but with the help of written policies and procedures and just getting to know the people I work with, it made the transition a lot easier.
I know you didn't start your career in HR. What skills
Mhm.
from your previous roles helped you succeed so quickly?
Good question. Yeah, so I was actually going to school for engineering, which is about the opposite of HR. But growing up, I had friends and after school activities, so I did kind of already have that want to meet people and get to know people. And as far as other roles that helped me with skills that I have, a big one was definitely my first job as a waitress. And eventually I moved up to a restaurant manager, so that's a lot of working with people and managing lots of different things going on at once, doing well under pressure, all those things that go along with being a waitress. And when I was a manager, that really helped me get skills for what I'm doing now. So we had implemented better training programs for the staff and performance reviews, all those things that are HR related we had implemented for the staff, the waitress staff. So that
I was also like a bartender throughout college.
mm,
There's just so much to pick up in those like odd jobs throughout life. And restaurant manager, that's super impressive. I don't know that I had known that part about you. That's awesome.
yeah, it was fun.
A little more about what investment casting foundries do and what kind of
Yeah.
parts you make there.
Yeah. So over my 18 months working here, I've been able to learn a lot from my coworkers of how the process works and what we actually do. And it's very interesting to me. So I guess I'll kind of give you a rundown of what the process looks like. So a customer will bring us a model of a part that they want produced, usually in mass quantities, and we'll take that part and we'll actually make a wax replica of it. So we make this wax replica of the part, and then it goes into our dip room, which is dipped into a slurry, and that forms a ceramic type shell around the wax mold. And then from that point, it goes into the foundry where the part is put into this giant oven or very large and very hot, and that actually melts out the wax so that all you're left with is that ceramic shell of what the part will be. And then immediately that shell is taken and we pour molten metal into it, which is one of my favorite things to watch is when they have the crucible and it's 50, 60 pounds and they're pouring it into this ceramic shell. Then when the metal cools, it forms the part. And so we knock off the ceramic coating and we're left with the finished product. And sometimes we have to do a little bit of hand grinding or surface finishing, just depending on how complex the part is. Um, yeah, so that's kind of a high level overview of
Yeah.
when a customer comes in and then how we get the part out the door. So it's very interesting.
It sounds like it. It sounds like a cool place to take a tour of.
Yeah.
I know coming into recruiting, I was getting just out of college and I didn't know much about what the industry would entail. Did you know anything about this industry before coming into it?
I had never even heard of a foundry. I'd never heard of investment casting. And my second part of the interview, we did a tour and I was blown away. And now it kind of opened my eyes. I see the world a whole lot differently. I'll be walking around and see maybe a little part at the park or something or on a car and think like, oh, that was probably made in a foundry. It's crazy how a lot of our manufacturing in the US is in foundries or investment casting. And it's been really interesting to learn more about it.
Sounds like it. Yeah, it's cool. Thanks for telling me about it. Okay, yeah. So you mentioned already that you're based in Utah, but you have a team in Austin as well. How
Mhm.
do you keep these two locations feeling like one unified company?
Sometimes it's not easy. And especially where we're a relatively new, cohesive team.
Hmm.
We bought the company about 3 years ago, so still kind of fresh. And one thing that I've noticed that really helps is collaboration between sites. So instead of having the mindset of like, we have our thing and they have their thing, we have integrated a lot of the same policies, procedures, whether it be in HR or operations. And a lot of that cross departmental collaboration is what drives that cohesiveness. And pair that with traveling employees from one site to another so that you can
Right.
meet in person and, go out to dinner and do kind of those fun, personable things. That's how we've really established a cohesive unit rather than two separate businesses.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I love little networking opportunities like that. And it
Yeah.
sounds cool being able to do that with people who are actually into a company, don't maybe get to see each other all the time.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Yeah.
a lot of
So
fun.
we work a lot together, but maybe not
Yeah.
in the same room.
There you go. How often, if this is just a curiosity, how often do you go like to the Austin branch? And that's your only other branch, right?
Yeah, so far that's our only other one. So I've actually been there twice, but a lot of our engineers go back and forth 6 times a year, maybe. Back when we had bought the company, our ownership team was down there every 6 weeks and really just trying to build up the business and make it a cohesive unit. Yeah.
That sounds awesome. I bet you're doing a great job. Speaking of which, can you tell me about what you've learned about leading change, if this is applicable, in a company that's been doing things the same way for decades?
You know, that is definitely one of the challenges I've run into, especially in HR, because a lot of the procedures we had were all on paper. And I'm from a younger generation, so I'm all about the tech. And I guess I'll give you an example. So when I started here, when employees wanted to request time off, they would just go tell their supervisor like, "Hey, I want these days off. Can I use my PTO?" And then they would have to go and put it on the calendar. And then when I started here, I thought surely we can make it a little bit more efficient. And so I printed out these little papers that employees could fill out and that they could fill out, give to their supervisor, just so it
Right.
makes it a little bit easier. And then actually just a month or two ago, I made this little iPad that has some features that employees can use, and part of that was a digital PTO request, and then it will send their supervisor an email.
Nice.
Let me say, a lot of employees still have the habit of just verbally telling their supervisor because that's how they've done it for 30 years.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely one of the challenges with change is helping employees understand why we're making the change and then actually getting everyone on board with the changes.
It's always tough when you're making a change that will actually help the masses, but it's just hard to adopt. Habits are always difficult to break. So I could definitely see
Yeah.
where that would be a challenge, but sounds like a cool thing you're implementing. Have you always liked technology?
I'm kind of a mixture. Like when I was in college, I would love like writing notes and taking notes in a physical notebook. But I also grew up like playing video games and things like that. So I definitely have a mixture of both, which has been beneficial in my role where we still have a lot of those ways of doing things on paper. But with AI and new technologies, I'm able to kind of bring that in when needed.
Now, I can't help but ask, what was your favorite video game, if you remember one?
Growing up, Minecraft.
Minecraft classic. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was stuck in my grandma's place. I say stuck, but I was having a blast. I was playing Galaga all day, every day from like
awesome.
13 to 15 or so.
Huh,
I don't know if you've ever played that one. It's like in most arcades.
that's awesome.
Keep a lookout. They're super
Okay.
fun. I know that hiring for niche roles like a quality manager can be kind of difficult. What's worked for you when finding the right person?
Well, honestly, a lot of trial and error. So
Sure.
we actually were hiring for a quality manager a little bit ago. And my first approach was for me personally to be looking on LinkedIn for people that are currently in that role or were in a similar role in the past,
Right.
and then personally messaging them. And that took a lot of time. So I had to change my strategy because one, I'm new in the industry and so I don't have all the connections yet.
Sure.
So I actually worked with a lot of recruiters. And so rather than me doing all of the legwork, I had my recruiter contacts, which they had contacts in the industry and they knew
Mhm.
maybe who was wanting to move. And so that really, really helped and was one way that I use to find those niche positions because the more eyes you have out there and the more ears you have out there, the better.
Definitely. Okay, yeah, that sounds super smart, making use of that team environment as well. I know that, yeah, anything social media doesn't tend to be my strongest suit, but yeah, reaching out to people, trying to develop networking and connections and things like that, that can be really, really helpful. Okay, Lauren, what's the biggest HR challenge you're focused on solving this year or in the coming year?
So, nothing's worse than having HR, especially corporate HR, breathing down your neck over every little decision. To try and avoid that in both facilities, a big challenge I've been trying to work towards is setting up a standard for how employees are compensated, which
Hmm,
is not easy. Because in the past, it's been okay, the supervisor says, "Hey, this person's doing good. I think we should give them a raise." And then they take it to the production manager and then they take it to me to get it approved. Because as we know, it can add up if, even $2 an hour can add up over the year. So,
definitely.
my challenge I've been trying to bridge is giving the facilities the power to make those decisions themselves
Hmm.
so that they don't have to get everything approved by corporate HR. And so that not only helps them feel autonomous and like they can have the power to reward those amazing employees, but it also helps me and my boss and the owners feel like they can, take a step back and not really have to worry about all those data details. And
Oh yeah.
so it's been really hard to go about solving that problem because I'd love to say, like, hey, go ahead and give people raises if they're doing good. But there has to be some sort of framework in place.
Sure.
And so that's one thing I've really been trying to work towards. And it's been a work in progress this whole year, but it's coming along pretty good.
I admire your tenacity. Like, where would you say you are in that process, and how do the facility managers feel about it?
So I've talked with them through it and they feel very good about it. Just
Mm,
having the autonomy to be able to choose and reward the high earning, high performing employees. And I'm kind of at a standstill on the project, but what I did is I made an Excel sheet with a framework for kind of each department of the shop and kind of based on employees' skills and what they can do is how much we'll be able to pay them. And so coming up with kind of a pay range so that there's still some sort of framework to it, but that we can pass that along to the facilities. And they're very excited for it.
good. Yeah, it sounds like a great idea, and execution might be difficult, but I bet you'll
Mhm.
get through it, and the company will be the better for it.
That's the goal.
Lauren, you mentioned preparing the company for future acquisitions. What does that look like from an HR perspective?
That's a good question. One thing from an HR perspective is standardizing policies and benefits and procedures. Because as we know, HR is a lot of day to day things and big picture things, and that can vary from company to company. So if we got a new company today, their PTO policy, health insurance plan, is going to be completely different from what IPC's is. And so, what I've been doing is trying to standardize and really create a foundation for HR policies, procedures, all those fun
Mhm.
things, so that if we do, well, when we do acquire a new business, it will be a more seamless and painless transition from an HR perspective. Does that
Right.
answer your question?
Definitely. Yeah, and that sounds like a really good way to do it. Get your framework all set up so that new companies coming in have a very solid idea, a very clear idea of what is expected. That's all great. Okay. Well, last question here on my side, Lauren. What excites you about the future of casting, your industry and HR at your company? However that question strikes you.
A lot of things. From a manufacturing perspective, there's a lot of cool new technologies that we're looking to adopt.
Hmm.
Think of 3D printing. I learned that you can 3D print with metal. I did not know that was a thing, but that is one of the technologies we're looking to adopt and just a lot of robotics, automation, which I find really cool, especially where I started my career in engineering. So that's what I'm excited for the company is moving that direction. As far as HR, kind of similar things. It's really awesome to learn about new automation or things we can do from an HR side. Think of like your HR software is like Paylocity and how much that helps with HR procedures. I'm looking forward to those things as well.
Sounds like there's a lot of innovation on the way. I can't help but wonder what it's going to be like in 10 years in your industry and your position, or maybe 30 if you follow suit with the last person.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Lauren, so much for joining today. Do you want to plug that you can be found on any social medias like LinkedIn or anything like that?
Yeah, I you can find me on LinkedIn, Lauren Webb at IPC. That's the best way to contact me.
Okay, well, great talking with you today. And thanks for joining the podcast. And I'll let you go for now.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.